Let's get straight to it then. The union government has notified the rules for RERA, or the real estate regulator. October 31st was the deadline by which all states were to notify rules for the regulator. Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka were the only 4 states that met the deadline. Missing in action were states that controlled key property markets like Maharashtra and Haryana. The Union Urban Development Ministry has also missed the RERA deadline. Under RERA, builders will be required to deposit 70% of the unused amount collected for ongoing projects in a separate bank account. The Union Minister for Urban Development, Venkaiah Naidu, has said that buyers will get an interest, a penalty interest of 10.9% for any delay in the delivery of their property. Now, according to RERA rules, such payment to the buyers needs to be made within 45 days of it becoming due. For registration of projects, the fee has been reduced to 5 rupees per square meter for up to 1,000 square meter area and 10 rupees per square meter beyond this particular limit, subject to a maximum of 5 lakh rupees per project. And we're now being joined by 2 very special guests to understand and put this into perspective. Advocate Uday Vavikar and activist Ramesh Prabhu in our Magic Bricks Now studios to take this discussion forward. Mr. Vavikar, I'm just going to start with you. Talk to us. 4 states are the only ones who have notified so far. How much of a reality is RERA now at this point in time?
There are 2 questions as I look at it. Number 1 question is, are we really speeding up the uniformity in the country for the real estate? Whether the states giving the autonomy to the state was correct to develop their own RERAs? Because 4 states are coming, others are still confused. Even in the parliament it was stated that no civil courts the cases would go, and the house buyers would go before either the consumer courts or RERA courts. You have opened up the line for High Court as an appellate court to the State Commission RERA courts. Where is the infrastructure facility? Where are we going to roll on? What is the efficiency? Is this dream going to be only a dream? Are the states going to lower down that 70% of the money that is to be kept in an escrow account of the project not to be transferred? There are several questions. Right. Questions after questions, and if these questions linger on and if there is no efficiency, which I think our Prime Minister should now look into it, because he had declared himself, and I saw that statement and had commented upon that statement, that हम रेरा से रेरा लाके घर खरीदारों को सक्षम कर रहे हैं. It is a point now that government should speed up, be after the administration to get this RERA cleared, and the confusion should be removed. There has to be an uniform policy and there has to be a stringent policy, which RERA has got inbuilt, but the implementation is taking really toll.
All right, the implementation is the key, Mr. Vavikar, but I'm just going to take this discussion to Mr. Ramesh Prabhu. Mr. Prabhu, as an activist, when you look at the goings on, we've seen RERA being in discussion for a long period of time, and just say about a year ago when we were kickstarting this channel is when there was some serious momentum building towards RERA. October 31st was the deadline to notify the final rules. 4 states and many still dragging their feet. Key markets like Maharashtra, Pune still lagging behind. How do you view the RERA at this point in time?
See, first of all, all state government wanted that let the central government notify the final act or rules rather. Because in the draft rules, there were a lot of criticism which was done by the Fight for RERA team. And one of the key area which we were all concerned and discussing was about the ongoing projects. In the ongoing projects, the developers had already siphoned off the money. It was put on the separate account. So the ongoing project was stalled. And even after the Supreme Court, High Court judgments, the people were not able to bring back the money. So how this RERA rule would be facilitating them to bring back the money? And ultimately, we could see the ray of hope, and the draft rules, or rather the final notified rules of the central government has come into the effect and saying that 70% of the money which is already to be used in the project should be brought back within 3 months. I think that is a great breakthrough, and that was the concern of the various states when even in Maharashtra the discussion was happening, and another issue with the Maharashtra government rules which was getting notified or getting delayed is about the conveyance. See, the Central Act says in the this conveyance is concerned, it will be the local law which will bring into the effect. So there is a lot of layout and multi-projects or the various things, how it can be done, and that is in the discussion. I think maybe in another month's time, almost remaining 25 states will definitely bring the draft notifications.
All right, Mr. Vavekar, I'm going to take off from what Mr. Prabhu is saying. A month's time, he's saying that all the other states will notify, and he's talking about specific, final rules to come out, like 70% of the unused money to be put in a separate bank account. There's also the 10.9% penalty to be paid to home buyers. Mr. Vavekar, I'm sure you agree that it's a great move, it's a great step. It has to be done within 45 days, which means there's no wastage of time. Home buyers, don't have to, sort of sink in their financial crisis, etc., etc. This rule is fantastic, isn't it?
It is a good rule. I would not say it is a fantastic rule, because tell me, when a builder takes from you 24% or 22% for a delayed payment, why should you go only for 10%? But still, at least it's a good beginning for a safe money. And I think Mr. Prabhu is really very optimistic, and I am also optimistic. But then somebody has to really follow up this, because in Maharashtra itself there is a confusion whether the deemed conveyance would be inside, whether the MOFA would continue or not, whether the part of MOFA would be adopted in RERA or not. These questions have to be quickly answered, because the original RERA is a great act. But when are we going to implement? When are the dreams come true?
Okay. Mr. Vavekar, we will hold on to that thought. I will get back to both you and Mr. Prabhu. But for now, for the benefit of all those who are watching, here's Magic Bricks now giving you a lowdown on who are the front runners and which states are lagging behind in notifying RERA. Take a look at this.
Karnataka, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh are the only three states that have notified rules for the real estate regulator or RERA before the October 31st deadline. While poll-bound Uttar Pradesh notified these rules on November 1st, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation (HUPA) also completed the formality on Monday evening. This means RERA can roll out in union territories like Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Chandigarh, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu and Lakshadweep. In fact, Chandigarh has already hit the ground running and set up a temporary RERA. However, home buyers in key property markets Delhi, Gurgaon, Mumbai, Pune, Navi Mumbai and Thane and Hyderabad are out in the cold. The Urban Development Ministry and the state governments responsible for these cities have missed the deadline to notify RERA rules.
People are very scared, as in scared would not be the right word, but they are quite skeptical, because some of the people had actually stayed their plans of acquiring or buying flats or apartments because of the hope that the act will come into force very soon, and that then they can proceed with their day-to-day activities of buying the flats.
If implemented in keeping with the centre's draft RERA rules, the regulator will make it mandatory for builders to pay 12% interest to home buyers for any delay in handing over apartments. Builders will also have to make public the details such as original sanctioned plans of the ongoing projects with specifications and changes made later, total amount of money collected from allottees, the capital deployed, original timeline for completion and the time period within which the developer will complete the project. They will also need to deposit 70% of the amount collected from buyers in a separate bank account within 3 months of applying for registration of a project. This money can then be used only to complete that specific project. RERA also mandates setting up an appellate authority, a tribunal that will hear any project-related disputes. It also lays down strict rules to penalize developers who flout the authority's rules. It could cost these developers 10% of the estimated cost of the project or even imprisonment. This is Suesha Sound for Magic Bricks Now.
So that is the status quo report on RERA, and we are still with Advocate Uday Vavekar and activist Ramesh Prabhu in our Magic Bricks Now studios. I'm just going to quickly have a word in from Vavekar on what Mr. Prabhu was talking to us. A month down the line, Mr. Prabhu sees all issues being ironed out in all other states, the laggards, finalizing their RERA rules. Do you think that can happen in a month's time from now?
As far as I am concerned, I have, of course, certain states will finalize, because as Suesha now pointed out, that a lot of groundwork has been done and it's a good thing. But a month, I am still skeptical about, because there are a lot of complications in key markets like Maharashtra and the other states who are not really sure of their existing acts like GOFA, MOFA and others, and what would be the acts then staying. where will be our deemed conveyance going, because it is not there in RERA. But there are a lot of good things in RERA is transparency. That is first key factor of RERA. Second is financial control on the builders for transferring the money and embezzling the money. Again, question would be whether the running projects would come in as the definition says they would come in. Would they bring 70% after investing in the project?
Big question, Mr. Prabhu. I'd like you to respond to that. Mr. Vavekar doesn't believe that in a month's time every issue can be solved out. Especially, you have the GoFars and the MoFars that exist in a big market like Maharashtra. So I'm also questioning your optimism on Mr. Vavekar's behalf.
See, every state when we discussed, they were all concentrating on the finalization of the central rules. Now the central rules are out, and if you see even the draft notification of Karnataka, 95% is taken from the central notification, including the agreement. So everywhere this has become like a, copying the what has been given as a model notification or the rules by the central government. Now the second thing most important is setting up the regulatory authority and the appellate authority, which select committee has to be constituted, the select committee has to come out, and the third thing most important is the regulations. When we talk about regulation, that is how that 70% money which is there in the escrow account should be utilized for the project. There is 3 agencies who need to notify or certify before the money is withdrawn. This architect, the chartered accountant, engineers. So that is how it will be done. What will be the type of certification required? What are the various things need to be looked into? A lot of regulation also need to be done, which of course will take time. I hope at least, union territories as well as Maharashtra and whatever the 4 states which are there, by 1st of May 2017, definitely it will be on the roll, and maybe month's time may become 2 months, but definitely it will be draft notification rules will be out in the public domain.
I think now Mr. Prabhu is more realistic.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Vavekar, please go ahead.
I think Mr. Prabhu is now realistic because there are a lot of complications. It's not easy to roll down in a bigger states and key markets, especially like Maharashtra and Karnataka or Gujarat, to come out with, because already there are state standards and procedures. And even into the state standards and procedure implementation process, finance process, budgeting process, having the RERA courts in formulated, people selected, assigned staff given to them, assigned properties given to them, thereafter running of these courts. And again, question is the appellate court, because from the district level you go to state level, from state level you go to the High Court. Would that solve a problem still is my question, because High Court is already flooded with cases. Able builders, if they can get a stay, a consumer coming to RERA and ultimately getting caught up in the litigation, would it serve its purpose ultimately? Because there are so many questions to be answered.
I think I would like to, say categorically that there is a appellate the tribunal. After the tribunal, there is the real estate tribunal, and thereafter we have real estate regulatory authority. Thereafter we have appellate. So when there are 2 authorities, the third authority, that is a High Court, definitely will look into the question of law. I don't think they will go to the facts. Fact finding is the regulatory authority as well as the appellate authority, and there are enough material which is put on the website, and it will be within 60 days they have to take the decision. I think a lot of material will be already disclosed, so I don't think there is any questions.
I appreciate Mr. Prabhu's positivism, but being a lawyer in High Court, I don't know the facts otherwise are speaking. I'm ready. Only thing is, what I'm saying is, I must tell the consumers that the consumer courts can also take RERA cases, which is a blessing to the consumers, which are much faster rather than the other civil courts. Time taken is much less, and the punitive punishments, sending builders to the jail, are directly done. So that will also happen.
Gentlemen, all I can say is that for the sake of home buyers who are watching us, that we all believe that Mr. Prabhu's optimism is in fact justified, and that we get the rules and the final notification from all the other states, and we do have RERA finally in the hands of the consumers who are watching, the home buyers who are watching, people who are saddled with delayed projects, who are watching us, for their for their sake. I hope and pray that RERA becomes a reality sooner than later. But for now, Mr. Prabhu, Mr. Vavekar, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on Magic Bricks Now for The Big Story.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Magic Bricks Now. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magic Bricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/Magic Bricks Now.